Grandmaster R. Pragnananda makes his way to the game along with the world champion Gukesh. They are just crossing the street. The hotel is just opposite to the playing venue. Pragg is taking on a big challenge today. He takes on the world number 1 Magnus Carlsen. And he's entering in with his second Grandmaster Vaibhav Suri. The players are playing in the Dijkman, which is the Oslo Public Library. It is huge and there are so many books in it. It's one of the most beautiful buildings in Oslo. And usually the Norway chess happens in the city of Stavanger, but this time it is happening in the capital of Norway. The last time Pragg played against Magnus was in 2024 Norway chess in a classical game. And now here again we are in 2026. Magnus coming in with Ella, his better half. Magnus in good spirits right now. He hasn't been playing particularly well in this tournament, but today is a fresh day. And before the players enter, they are asked a few questions.
How do you feel about the game against Magnus? He seems like he struggled a little in the beginning here.
I mean, for me, it's another game.
Are you willing to play hard against Magnus when he seems like he's not the same version of himself as you usually see?
I didn't think about any of this. I just want to play a game and enjoy.
Good luck, bud. Thank you.
I'm just I'm looking forward to play a game and hopefully we'll have a good fight.
Are you looking forward to end this match in the classical game or go to the Armageddon?
Whatever the position demands, whatever.
This is the thing about Pragnananda. He always takes it as just another game, trying to give his best whoever is his opponent. And this has kept him in good stead. Let's see today how he fares against the GOAT. Magnus enters in clearly with the expectation that he wants to do better than what he has been doing here. He lost the first round to a classical game to Ali Reza Firuza for the first time in his chess career. And look at the number of people who've come here. The second round, Vincent Keimer was a draw, and now Pragnananda. Handshake. And let's see how Pragg begins here. He plays pawn to e4. And usually Magnus would play e5 here. It's interesting to see if he goes for e5 today or something else. And one of the things that Magnus always does before the game is adjusts all his pieces. He could have done this before his time began, but I think for Magnus this is a routine which puts him in a good mindset. And boom, c5 played. We have the Sicilian on the board, which means that Magnus is going for a full-fledged fight. Knight to f3 by Pragnananda. Will Pragg go for something like a Moscow or a Rosolimo with bishop b5, d6 played? Or will he go for the open Sicilian with pawn to d4? He goes for it. Pawn to d4 on the board. Pawn takes pawn. Knight takes d4. And if you've played d6, very likely that you will go for the Najdorf. Knight to f6, attacking the pawn on e4. And knight comes out to c3. And we have the Najdorf. The Sicilian Najdorf is on the board. And Pragg plays h4. Very interesting line. I think it's played to just throw Magnus off his preparation. There's so many more popular moves like bishop e3, bishop e2 and so on. But Magnus goes h6. The only time in the database when Magnus has played h4 was an online game where he played e5. But today he chooses h6. Bishop comes out to c4, putting pressure on the f7 point and on this diagonal. And e6 played just to limit that bishop. And now Magnus, after e6, pragg goes pawn to a3, making a little space, a luft for his bishop to come back. And a long think here by Magnus, close to 28 minutes, and he goes knight to c6. Because, you know, he could have gone bishop e7, he had b5, bishop b7 options. Bishop comes out to e3, defending the knight. And one of the main plans in this position is to go queen e2 and long castle. It's this well-known Velimirovich attack. First, pragg puts his bishop back to a2, so that b5 maybe doesn't come with a tempo. And Magnus now plays bishop to e7. He gets his pieces out and prepares for short castling if feasible. But short castling is dangerous because white directly has g4, g5 in hand. So Magnus would do well to keep his king in the center. For now, he goes h5. A very, very committal move, but at the same time a good move. It stops g4, takes the g4 square into control. f3 played here by Magnus, by pragg, stopping knight g4. Knight jumps to e5. And with this, Magnus is preparing rook c8 and knight coming to c4 or rook c8. And you always have these ideas of exchange sacrifice. Whoa, long castle on the board. Okay, rook c8 is a must for Magnus now. And he plays it. The rook comes to c8. I'm a bit worried about a sacrifice on c3. So my mind is going to queen d2, but then b5, knight c4, black's play is flowing. Pragg is not worried. He goes bishop to g5. But now, boom, take here, spoil the structure, a very typical exchange sacrifice in the Sicilian. And Magnus does it, boom, rook takes c3. The game is going to get really exciting now. Pragg has assessed that that position is fine for him. But I must say that the engines consider this as equal, which means Magnus's choice has been really good. Queen a5 played, getting the queen to attack the a3 and the c3 pawns. Pragg goes king b1. This is modern chess. You know, you just play it. I think in the good old days, people would have thought black is doing fine. Not go into this with white. By the way, here castles would have been a nice move, getting the rook quickly into the game. But he takes on a3 and f4. It's Pragg who's now creating play before all the black pieces come in, and also the king gets castled. Knight goes to g4, a very natural move, but e5 is coming in as well. This could be a very, very serious edge for white after e5. And he pushes forward, pawn to e5, played by Pragg. Magnus takes d, and f takes e5. Chops it off. And now you can't go knight d5 because of bishop d5. The bishop is there. Knight h7. And Pragg is better. If he plays queen f3 or queen e4, he'll be hitting the b7 pawn. He goes queen d2, which is a natural move, defending c3. Also eyeing this bishop. Knight to f8 by Magnus. He didn't want to take on g5 and open up this rook. So he goes knight f8. Knight comes back to f3, defending the e5 pawn. And we have queen to c5. Yes, also the d7 bishop had to be protected with the knight. And takes on e7. The queen comes back. Queen takes e7 and knight jumps to g5. What a move. Because if knight e5, you have rook h e1. That can get really dangerous. So he goes knight to g6. But we have knight e4 to d6 check, which Pragg must play. He plays it with 12 minutes on hand. Magnus has 22 minutes. You can't castle, the d7 bishop is hanging, knight takes e5 taken, and now a check. And I would say Praggnanandha's assessment of the position was great. His king on b1, although exposed, is safe, while Magnus' king is the one that has come under pressure. Rook f1, he puts the rook here, attacks. According to the engines, the better move was rook h e1, but I think this is very natural. Threatening knight f7, and taking on d7. He goes back, knight to f6. And now a good move is queen d4 or queen e3, putting pressure here, threatening to enter in here. Queen d4 played. Pragg playing like a machine. Great accuracy. Knight g4 by Magnus. Actually, Magnus's material situation is quite fine. Knight takes b7. A better move was queen b6, but it was natural to take a pawn. And now bishop b5 is a good move because you attack the knight, you attack the rook. And Magnus plays it. Going into an endgame might be possible, but that's what we said. Black structure and pieces are so good that the endgame should be completely fine for him. Goes knight e8, blocking the check. And now will Pragg take the queen? Pragg does it. He takes, king takes. And I think Magnus is still slightly worse, but the position is crazy. It's no longer clear anyone can win. Bishop a4 played a beautiful move, because if you played bishop c6, knight d8 is winning. If you take here, rook takes f7 is a mate. So bishop a4, rook d8 coming in. And now bishop c6 hitting the knight, and a good move is rook f d1. If you take here, check and you win the bishop back. Can Pragg find it? No, he goes rook b8. Not the best move. But Pragg is already down to 3 minutes 47 seconds. Magnus has 6 minutes 42 seconds. I mean, Magnus was on the defensive throughout the game. But now he's gotten his chance. He takes on g2, attacking the rook. Rook g1 played. And simply moving the bishop back, bishop f3. One thing to take care of is this idea, g5, hg, and the h pawn starts rolling. Magnus, bishop f3, rook g3 played by Pragg, attacking the bishop. And now knight to e5, beautiful move. He brings his knight, defends the bishop, pawn to c5, but now pawn to g5 is a beautiful move. Takes hg, h4 runs, and if you play, yes, he goes for it, rook g5, then knight to d7 wins material. So that's the reason why Pragg goes knight d6, but now g4 and Magnus is winning. Whoa, what a turnaround. Magnus Carlsen has turned this game around. Check. And Praggnanandha looks at the score sheet. They're on move 38, 10 seconds increment now. Okay. Bishop c6, go for that. No, he takes on d6. Rook h8 and knight e4. Magnus has given up 2 exchanges. But he sees that now he's getting an increment of 10 seconds. Rook g1. And he has to calm down now. Check. And knight e2 coming in with the g pawn. These 3 pieces are incredible. Rook f1 and g3 is a mistake. Rook g8. But Pragg goes c6, not the best move. g2, rook takes f3, and king g7 is the only defense that Magnus has. It's not at all easy, because if you take knight f3, then rook g8 stopping the pawn and your own pawn is queening. But Magnus blunders. He goes king g7. He makes a huge mistake, c7. I think Magnus missed this move. Bishop b7 stopping the pawn, but rook b8, g2, and now you move the rook away and then pick up the bishop and queen the pawn. And Magnus resigns even before Pragg makes his move. What a win for Praggnanandha. Magnus Carlsen, well, just when he thought he was back in the game is when he blunders under time pressure. This does not happen with the GOAT often. You know, once he gets the edge, he converts it. But Magnus is not in great shape, and you can see there he's so unhappy. But for Praggnanandhaa, this is a huge win, and Pragg looks so relieved there because he didn't understand what was happening yet towards the end of the game. Magnus's pawns were coming down the board, but it was his C pawn that eventually won. And with this, Magnus slumps to his second classical loss in 3 rounds, and he's on the bottom of the leaderboard. Meanwhile, Pragg leapfrogs to second position behind Alireza Firouzja. And not a good day in the office for Magnus, but for Pragg, his win against Magnus once again after 2024, and he meets Vaibhav Suri, his second, and he's thrilled. Pragg does not emote much, but what a big day for the youngster. Congratulations to him.